Hello, everybody. It's Patrick Hebert back again with Freedom Lovers Life podcast number. I never know what the number is, but I think it's in the 20s, 30s, somewhere now. I have a special guest today. Tracy Ganske is a friend of mine from many years back. I'll probably let her do a better description of what she does and who she is, but kind of on the alternative medicine space, into self-sovereignty and that sort of thing, which lines up very well with our Veritas Villages and our philosophy. So we'll get right into it a little bit here. Tracy, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into what you're getting into now?
Okay, awesome. Thanks for having me here, Patrick. Yes, we go way back, and I love what you're doing. I love all the projects that you have, especially here in beautiful Costa Rica and Atenas in particular. It's a great area. Um, I have a PhD in microbiome and brain chemistry. And so I started out in nursing. And then more along the lines, I think I got frustrated with my own health. I was been diagnosed with Lyme disease, which you being from Canada are probably very familiar with. It's very endemic around our area. I'm up from upstate New York. And I struggled with that for many years, even though I had a medical background, it was, people want to treat it very traditionally with antibiotics and all of the things, right, that Western medicine likes to obviously treat chronic diseases with. And I just got very frustrated. I had functional medicine clinics myself. I started functional medicine clinics years ago in Austin, Texas, where I was living, and I opened many around Texas, in the Texas area. And so I was already dialed in with, getting to the root of real issues for people, not just treating symptoms. And I had to, I became the patient, honestly. I became the patient of what am I doing? I'm not getting well. With Western medicine, I was like taking 80 pills a day between antibiotics and supplements. And I finally I cast my net very wide, and I went on a big search. I traveled to many countries. I sat with indigenous tribes. I really learned about what I would call ethnobotany. The plants are our apothecary, and people in other worlds and other countries, they have these traditions of, using plants to heal themselves. And so it's more alternative. And then I came back and I was able to kind of use that knowledge to help cure myself. And I mean, it certainly wasn't easy, but it was a lot of, different botanicals and supplements and things of that nature that I would consider to be more naturally focused. Not necessarily so allopathic or Western, where it requires a prescription. And one of the big things that I found was just, our soil is so depleted, our food sources are depleted of nutrients, and it all starts really in our gut. And so if our gut is imbalanced and we're taking on these toxins every day from chemicals that they're being sprayed on our crops and all of the things, we somehow have to get our gut biome, the good organisms back and repopulate our gut. And so that really helped me first and foremost. And that's really what I do for my own clients on the functional medicine side, is to be able to really start with the basics, your gut, your brain. Are you making these brain chemicals because they're all made in the gut? Are you able to sleep? That's, your happy chemicals like serotonin and dopamine and GABA, and all of those things are very important for people to feel like a whole person, honestly. And that's where people get trapped in this pharmaceutical system of taking Celexa or antidepressants and SSRIs and all of the things. It's also equally like destroying their gut bacteria. People don't realize that. So I help people wean off of those things so they can start to feel again and not be so numbed out, but also to help those two systems work properly, so that they can be more sovereign from a physical standpoint. Yeah, that's really what I do.
Awesome. I mean, I always think there's kind of this weird split between Western medicine and alternative medicine, where, like, when I grew up in the prairies of Canada, it was, my mother would get some strawberry extract or something, like literally from strawberries, and create her own, which is really good for nausea and things like that. I'm just thinking of one example, but
Yeah.
it's, most of our modern day medicine does come from plants, right? So it's kind of
Yes.
weird that we have this split, that it's like, oh, that's weird. Like, it's so conspiracy theorist over there that, well, not very long ago, there wasn't all these drugs on the market, and people were doing pretty well, right?
Yeah,
And the
right.
natural stuff is a lot better for you. And I forgot to mention that you just mentioned it too, but that you are living in Atenas in Costa Rica now. That's correct?
Yes, I live here. It's such a beautiful place. I'm excited for you to be here with your development. It's people flock here because it really is so magical. You know, I think that a lot of times people move to Costa Rica and they have this idea, especially if they're from the north, like Canada, to move to the beach, right? They want to
Yeah.
move to Ubita or Dominical. And within a year, yeah, statistically showing people move inland, they move into the Central Valley region, which is here in Costa Rica, because the weather is perfect. I mean, it
Yeah.
is always just so divine, the weather. Always such a beautiful breeze, as you can see here.
Yeah.
And it's never too hot, never too humid. Yeah, the beach side tends to be more humid for people, and they're not used to that. So
Yeah, no, I mean, we experience that all the time with our communities, right? Even here in Coronado or Chiriquí in Panama, where I'm in right now, Panama City is smoking hot. The beaches are always hot, but we are
yes,
up at a higher elevation, like in Atenas, where Atenas had the great claim to fame from National Geographic, saying it's the best climate in the world. And
right.
Veritas Village in Atenas for us has actually three different climate zones on the same community, which is very cool. Like it's tropical, subtropical, and temperate. So whichever one
Yes,
you like, kind of pick your climate. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, but it's amazing how many expats come down to this part of the world thinking, oh, I just want to live on the beach. That would be awesome. And then, like you said, within a year or two, it's like this is smoking hot all the time, like day and night.
yeah,
And Atenas, has temperatures more like I don't know, 19 to 26, 27, whereas, in Celsius or you call it, high 60s to mid 80s, where the beach communities generally start around 80 and go up from there, right? So
that's right.
it's,
Yeah, that's
it's,
right.
so it is so refreshing. And then, I mean, it must be just like the perfect environment for you too, because almost every plant on the planet will grow. I think the biodiversity of Costa
Oh,
Rica is
sure.
off the charts. So for you
Yes.
looking at plant-based medicines, it must be a pretty awesome place to be as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. There's just so many things, like you said, that grow here. And the other special thing about this area, just geographically speaking, is that it's close to so many different things. You're like 25 minutes from the airport. To get into San Jose is less than an hour. To get to the beach is around an hour. So there's many things within an hour of this spot. Sometimes, I always felt like I know you and I were looking at property over on the beach side at one point in time, and it's hard. It's hard to feel like you are connected over there. I think from my perspective, like, gosh, if you really needed medical care, you really needed to get into a city, it's a lot further. It for
Yeah.
sure is. Yeah.
I
So
would
this
say
is
that's probably one of the main downsides of Costa Rica is a lot of those communities are just so far
yeah,
from, an international airport and
that's
things
right.
like that. And a lot of our residents are still, have businesses and are active and kids and teenagers and things like that that don't want to be isolated to that extent. They want their own kind of self-sovereign community and
Yes,
and make their own freedom-oriented choices, but also need transportation once in a while
abs-
to go somewhere
absolutely.
and get somewhere. So yeah, Costa Rica. Well, Costa Rica is great for that. I mean, the San Jose airport has got flights, like direct flights from all over
Mhm.
the place. It's all, one of the things that Costa Rica has done that we were talking about earlier too is they've just marketed themselves so well
Yeah,
for 60 years or whatever it's been now, whereas a lot of the countries here didn't really see themselves as a destination. And Costa
right.
Rica is just like probably one of the more beautiful countries on the planet. If certainly in Latin America, it's just kind of in that sweet spot of having the right amount of rain to have everything green and jungly and
Yeah.
beautiful and but still great weather. So especially in Atenas where you are. So yeah, we're really excited about having that. Um, Tell us a little bit about what your kind of retreats are like and what your envision of potential. We were talking about a potential clinic, alternative medicine type of clinic or space on in Veritas Village at Tennis, and what that might be like for the people that are listening to this that are interested in moving there.
For sure. Yeah. Well, people come here. I have a retreat center. People come that have sometimes addictions, not heavy, we treat, alcohol or cannabis addictions or whatever that may be, whatever the addiction is. It doesn't always have to be a substance. I always say that people are addicted to your own negative thought patterns most times. And so
Can you
people
fix
come for
addictions
that.
of scrolling through Instagram? It seems everybody
Yeah.
has that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yes. The
Especially the
endless
drivers
scroll.
here in Panama, they're scrolling through Instagram while they're driving. It drives me.
Oh
Insane.
gosh. Oh well, here the roads, as you know, are so crazy that people don't usually text and drive. So that's one good thing. Yeah, people come for deep trauma healing work. We all have things from childhood or from, gosh, the past that we need to definitely have a reboot. I mean, that's really what we do is that we help people with the reboot and the reprogram so that they can go live their lives with more peace and calm. And yeah, because I have the experience as a PhD and I've traveled and I've sat with many indigenous tribes, as you have known over the years, I've traveled to over 115 countries and sat with some of the most famous indigenous tribes. And so I incorporate that knowledge with my science background. So it's kind of like really where like science meets spirit, if you will. And putting the two ancient knowledge and the science together to really help people heal from the inside out. And I love how you talk about sovereignty because that's really what I'm all about. I'm more about body sovereignty. It's like if we don't have to rely on government systems and I can be helping people eat the right foods and understand how to eat based on their individual diagnostic test for their gut biome, what's best to really balance an individual person, not just treating everybody the same like cookie cutter, then that's really the sweet spot for most people. And you and I did talk about quite a bit about, what it would look like to have some kind of alternative clinic at Veritas Village. And I think it's awesome for people to be able to have something that is not based in, the medicalized system. And even here, yeah, people do go to the hospital, they go to the clinic, they go to those different doctors when they get their CAHA, yeah, and they treat people more traditionally, I would say. So I think people are looking for alternative approaches to how do they heal their bodies? How do they do that? And I'm really the guide or the mentor or the teacher to be able to help show them how to do that.
Well, that's awesome. I picture, I mean, the other thing that I think is beneficial to combine what you're doing with what we're doing is we also grow our own food, right? We have community
Mm,
orchards, community gardens, tilapia
yeah.
ponds, blah, blah, blah,
Yep.
livestock. So we can ensure that they're not getting sprayed with crap or,
Right.
steroids injected into the beef and things like that. So
Yes.
even our water, we treat the water with UV light and charcoal, and that's it. Like we don't
Love
add
it.
any chlorine or anything like that. So, I mean, if people want to do that in their own home, that's up to them. They're free to do it. We're a freedom-oriented community, but we're not going to do it so that the water that arrives at your home is already, contaminated, so to speak. So I
For
think,
sure.
the opportunity for you with a clinic on site, if that's where we end up, is you can
Mhm.
also grow a lot of the things that you
Yeah.
need to treat people. So
Yes.
I think it is the whole sovereignty thing, like we're talking about. It kind of comes full circle when we can grow the medicine even within the community in
Mhm.
addition to the food. I think that's pretty cool because we're always wanting to be at the state where when the next shit hits the fan, to be honest, like the next COVID or whatever it's going to be, we
Mhm.
can shut the gate. And in these Latin American live and let live kind of cultures, they're not going to come in. It's like there's a bunch of expats living in there. Let them do what they want to do,
Of
and we
course.
don't. And we're all, we have solar and wind systems and things like that. So we create our own power. We have our own
Yeah.
water. We have our own food. Now, if we would have our
Yes.
own medicines and stuff like that, I think
Yes.
you're basically building a town that is self-sufficient and isolated from government and large
Mhm.
corporation interference. It's not a big pharma
Mhm.
center; it's our own thing, right? So
Yes.
I
Yes.
am excited to see how that can go, and all these communities are evolving, right? There's an evolution of even I started doing communities 20 some years ago. They've come a long way because you keep learning new things, like we're talking about today. So I'm excited to take that next level as well, and it takes a while, right? The Costa Rican Atenas property is 350 acres. It's going to be, our largest community to date.
Sure.
And so that doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of infrastructure and a lot of
Right.
amenities and a lot of people moving in, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be popular as Costa Rica is such a huge destination already.
Oh, for
So,
sure. And
so
I think the one thing that I'll say is, being here myself and having gone through it, it's not always easy, right? It's painful when you move from a country that's convenient like the United States and you can do everything online to a country that I wouldn't consider third world, but it's neither first world either. It's a
yeah,
second world country. And so having those contacts and those networks, I'm happy to help people with the residency programs and how you get residency, how you get driver's license, how you move your pet here.
Yeah.
There's just all kinds of things as well that people I see that are on these Facebook groups, and they're just inquiring. It spends let's talk about the scroll. My goodness, you could spend hours upon hours just trying to source all that information. So I know for me, if there was somebody doing that, I would pay. I'd pay for that kind of service for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, and it's, the culture here is a little bit more old school that way, and I like it. I mean, it's slower. It's not the rat race of North
Yeah.
America or Europe or Australia or whatever. And for
Mhm.
that reason, it's similar to, like you said, getting your driver's license. It's not always easy to go online and find out how to do that
No.
or even apply for it. So knowing people, I mean, you're already in Atenas living there, and having gone
Yeah.
through the school of hard knocks that we all go through when we move
Yeah.
first, and blazing the trail for the people that come next. And
Yes.
so it's great. It's great to have your knowledge there, like you said, everything from the driver's license to residency
Yeah.
to where is the best place to buy a lawnmower, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, a
Like,
car. I mean, that's been
a
a
car, or
hassle.
importing a vehicle, or whatever it is. I mean, so yeah, that's awesome to have that knowledge already built in. We're going to convince you to move into the Veritas Village too, in addition to having the clinic there. But
Yeah, be great. I love it. I love Atenas. I mean, as you know, I've traveled to all different parts of Costa Rica, and I did a lot of research myself on the best places. And I mean, this to me is the perfect ideal location. There's a great expat community here. Like you said before, it's close to many things. It's perfectly positioned. It's an amazing spot. And the other thing, just from a standpoint of resources, I think that a lot of people do really love the North. They love Guanacaste, Nasara. I mean, those are like hotspots for people, but you have to consider water. And a
yeah,
lot of those areas in the North, as you know, because you're a developer and you've looked around a lot, it's like they do lack water. And so you want to go to a place that doesn't have any water restrictions and doesn't have more of that arid climate that a lot of the north places have closer to the Nicaraguan border. So it's something to consider.
yeah. And I lost track around counting around 35 or 40 visits to Costa Rica to find the perfect property. So we were
Mhm.
pretty excited. Spencer, myself, and Mario, one of our guys in Costa Rica, were looking at the property and went, well, same thing
Yeah.
happened to us in Coronado here. It's just like, well, this is it. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, it doesn't matter what they're asking for this property. This is the one, right? So,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
we've been fortunate enough to get kind of the last large land tract to be able to do a Veritas Village in that area of Costa Rica. So we're pretty excited
Sure.
about it, and we're announcing it any day now. I'm not sure if our announcement will come out before this podcast does or after, but it's around that same time. So,
Okay.
it's an opportunity here to for people to learn a bit more about a tennis, and get to know you. If you're living, you already have one friend built in there on tennis. Then for
There you
people that are
go. That's
watching, right?
great.
So
I'm already here. And I think the other thing too, the last point I'll make, so I'm happy to help people with just where to buy simple things, right? I mean, like we mentioned cars, but just even groceries. I think oftentimes when towns start to see the influx of expats coming in, yeah, and then they go, oh, gringo price.
yeah,
Like this store, we're going to charge more because the gringos like it. And we're going to charge these US prices, which it happens. I mean, the reality of anything is opportunity. And
exactly.
so I have figured that out. I mean, for sure. It's like it's worth sometimes going, for a drive once a week to a good market where it's like a local market where you don't see many expats just to get the best deals on things. And
Yeah, if they're
local
not used
growers,
to,
they're not being sprayed with things. You know that it's organic, it's coming right from the farm, it's been grass fed, it doesn't have chemicals in it, it doesn't have hormones. And so I'd figured that out because I
yeah,
do,
no, that's a
this is
good
what I
point. I
do.
mean, even inside our communities, obviously, we're going to be growing food, but if you're shopping
Yeah.
outside, it's pretty easy to find organic stuff because, frankly, pesticides and herbicides and things like that are expensive, and
Hmm.
the local gardeners and farmers can't afford it, so they don't use
Right.
it, which is kind of a nice thing. So
Yes,
you're kind of
this is
safe
true.
from that. So
Yeah.
it's awesome that you're finding those places, and like you said, that it's kind of like the school of hard knocks when you first move to somewhere, if you're
Mm,
on it doing it on your own.
for sure.
So it's always
For
good to
sure.
have the
Yeah.
contacts of somebody that's gone through it. And even it's good and bad that the restaurants and things that start popping up when you have a lot of expats moving into a region, they generally get better at serving, expats or expat expectations.
For
And
sure.
so you get a mix of restaurants that are for locals and restaurants that are for expats. Of course, the expat restaurants tend to be a little more expensive, but
Yeah.
at least you get that option, right? And you say, no, I'm going to that local place on that corner. That's awesome. And it's like,
Yeah, and I work with a
$5 for
local.
lunch instead of 20,
Yeah.
right? So,
And there are lots of restaurants. There definitely there's a few that are better than others, obviously. But the thing that I love the most about this community, and I use is a local chef, and I use him for my retreats, and he has a lot of expat clients. Again, it's sometimes more economical to do that. When you think about the cost of eating out, and then you price it, and I've done that price comparison. It's like, gosh, it's way easier to hire somebody to come in and cook your food, and you know what you're getting at that point. You know that you don't have to be, obviously you're not using seed oils, or you can say don't use seed oils in my food, or I don't like gluten, and he can do all of that. I've got a couple of those good resources. And so it's much nicer when I put plans together for people, like nutritional plans. It's always better to have somebody, yeah, it's a lot easier to have somebody cook your food and know what you're getting versus eating out.
well, and that is one of the benefits of Costa Rica in general too, is they've actually heard of something, like somebody having celiac or whatever. So,
Yeah.
that whereas if you're in Honduras or something, they'll look at you like you got two heads and go, "Well, I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's wheat and everything, right?" It's
Yes.
like,
It can
so,
it can
so it's
accommodate.
pretty hard to figure out. And then they'll say, no, there's none in it, and still give it to you. And then you're sick for the next 2 days, right? If you need
Yes.
gluten-free food, and some of our residents do, but that's just one example. So
Right.
there's a fine line between, you kind of want the old authentic Latin American countries versus you also want the modern day conveniences
Yeah.
and things like that. And Costa Rica is a country that has both. So it's nice,
Absolutely.
you know.
That's
So,
right. That's right. Mhm.
well, we usually keep these pretty short. I'm really glad that you had a chance. I know it was super short notice to drop in and be on the podcast, but is there anything else that you want to say before we wrap this up?
No, I can, maybe you can put a link to the website if people are considering Costa Rica, or I do remote consults as well if you want to get your body ready for a big move, and you need some residency help as well. I'm available to consult with people on those two fronts. So yeah, we can put the link.
Sounds perfect. We'll make sure that link's in the area below here.
Yes.
Thanks very much, Tracy. I appreciate you doing this
Yeah,
on short
thanks,
notice
Pat.
and getting together. And nice to talk to you again.
Yeah, you as well. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Ciao.
All right, freedom lovers, that wraps up today's episode. If you enjoyed this conversation, please like the video. And if you're interested in learning more about freedom-oriented living and community options in Latin America, you can find more about Veritas Villages in the link below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.